The history of Africa is scarred by the violent silencing of its visionaries, leaders who dared to dream of a continent free from exploitation, united in purpose, and sovereign in its destiny. These men, assassinated for their audacity to challenge colonial powers, foreign corporations, and internal betrayals, left behind legacies that still resonate in the struggle for a better Africa. Their stories, steeped in courage and tragedy, reveal a pattern of external interference and internal strife that shaped the continent's turbulent post-colonial era. Here are 10 such tales, woven into a narrative that captures their dreams, their battles, and the forces that cut their lives short.
Independence came to over a dozen states peaceably.
In the humid heart of the Congo, Patrice Lumumba emerged in 1960 as the first prime minister of a newly independent nation. His voice, a clarion call for sovereignty over the land's vast mineral wealth, copper, cobalt, and diamonds, coveted by the world. A fervent Pan-Africanist, Lumumba envisioned a Congo free from Belgian chains, its resources serving its people rather than foreign corporations. His fiery speeches, delivered with a schoolteacher's clarity, alarmed Brussels and Washington, who saw his flirtation with Soviet aid as a threat in the Cold War chessboard. A coup orchestrated by Colonel Joseph Mobutu, backed by Belgian operatives and CIA funds, toppled him. On January 17, 1961, in the remote Katanga clearing, Lumumba was executed by firing squad. His body later dissolved in acid to erase his existence. The classified document revealed Belgians and America's complicity, fearing his vision would disrupt their grip on Congo's riches. Lumumba's death plunged the nation into chaos, paving the way for Mobutu's kleptocratic reign, but his dream of African unity burns on in the hearts of activists.
The Soviet Union has been demanding Lumumba's release and immediate talks at the United Nations. Mobutu enjoys the sight of Lumumba being tied up more firmly for transfer to the garrison town of Teesville. A soldier tries to stuff into Lumumba's mouth a crumpled speech asserting his claim to power. The former premier shows no emotion. It may be the end of a chapter, but not yet the end of the Congo story.
In the dusty streets of Ouagadougou, Captain Thomas Sankara seized power in 1983, renaming Upper Volta as Burkina Faso, land of upright people. At 33, this charismatic soldier, often seen in a beret strumming a guitar, became a symbol of hope. Sankara rejected foreign aid, vaccinated millions, planted trees to halt desertification, and empowered women in a patriarchal society. His defiance of the IMF and France, whose neo-colonial influence he scorned, made him enemies. On October 15, 1987, gunfire erupted at the presidential palace. Sankara, betrayed by his comrade, Blaise Compaoré, fell in the hail of bullets. Whispers of African and American involvement lingered. Sankara's push for African self-reliance threatened their economic leverage. A 2021 trial convicted Compaoré, but the foreign hands behind the coup remained shadowy. Burkina Faso slid back into dependency, yet Sankara's ideals inspire a new generation of African revolutionaries.
Qui empêche le peuple de construire son bonheur. Si depuis 20 ans, chaque week-end les femmes...
In the jungles of Guinea-Bissau, Amilcar Cabral, an agronomist turned revolutionary, led the fight against Portuguese colonialism. As the head of the PAIGC, he blended Marxist theory with African realities, preaching unity across ethnic lines and dreaming of a liberated Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. His global stature, amplified by speeches at the United Nations, unnerved Lisbon. On January 20, 1973, as Cabral walked outside his Conakry headquarters, a disgruntled PAIGC member, allegedly suborned by Portugal's PIDE secret police, shot him dead. Rumors swirled of Western complicity as Cabral's success threatened colonial dominoes in Africa. His death slowed the PAIGC's momentum, but independence came months later. Cabral's writings, poetic and profound, remain a blueprint for anti-colonial struggles worldwide.
Dans ces régions libérées, nous avons une organisation politique qui est notre parti. Nous développons chaque jour davantage notre organisation administrative avec tous les services et nous développons peu à peu notre économie.
Sylvanus Olympio, Togo's first president, stood at the helm of a tiny West African nation in 1960. His Oxford-educated mind set on economic independence. Unlike many Francophone leaders, Olympio leaned toward Britain, a move that egged France, Togo's former colonial master. He sought to loosen Paris's grip on Togo's currency and trade, a defiance that sealed his fate. On January 13, 1963, as he fled a coup led by French-trained soldiers, Olympio was gunned down outside the US Embassy in Lomé, the first post-colonial coup in Africa. France's hand, though never officially admitted, was suspected as Olympio's policies threatened their West African influence. His death ushered in decades of dictatorship, snuffing out Toby's democratic dawn, but his vision of sovereignty lingers in Togo's collective memory.
Once more, Mr. President, I thank you most sincerely on behalf of my people and on behalf of the members of my delegation for the very warm welcome which you have extended to us. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Mozambique scholar warrior Eduardo Mondlane, a US-educated anthropologist, founded Frelimo to free Mozambique from Portugal's iron grip. His vision of a socialist united nation rallied thousands to the Bush War. By 1969, Frelimo's gains alarmed Lisbon and its apartheid allies in South Africa. On February 3, in the Dar es Salaam safe house, a parcel bomb exploded, tearing Mondlane apart. Portuguese intelligence was a prime suspect, with whispers of South African or Western involvement as Mondlane's charisma drew international support. His death fractured Frelimo, but his comrades pressed on, winning independence in 1975. Mondlane's dream of a just Mozambique endures, though the nation still grapples with his absence.
That all those interested in the area view it as a unit. Frelimo, the movement which is directing the armed struggle in Mozambique and is now in virtual control of the northern fifth of the countryside, is engaged in more than military
leader of Cameroon's UPC, burned with zeal to end French domination and unite British and French Cameroon. Exiled in Guinea, he waged a guerrilla campaign, his eloquence rallying global anti-colonialists. France, desperate to secure its African foothold, marked him for death. On October 15, 1960, in a Geneva restaurant, a French external intelligence agent slipped thallium into Mumi's wine. He died in agony days later. His assassination later exposed as the work of the La Main Rouge, France's covert hit squad. Mumi's death crushed the UPC, enabling France to install a puppet regime. His widow's testimony decades later confirmed France's ruthlessness, cementing Mumi's martyrdom in Cameroon's fight for true independence. Marouane Ngouabi, a paratrooper turned president, declared the Republic of the Congo a Maoist state in 1969, nationalizing oil and defying French interests. His refusal to annex Angola's oil-rich Cabinda province, coveted by the Western firms, made him a target. On March 18, 1977, as he worked in his Brazzaville office, gunmen stormed in, leaving Ngouabi dead. French intelligence was suspected, with internal rivals possibly complicit. The assassination triggered a power struggle, derailing Congo's socialist path. Ngouabi's death remains a murky chapter, but a stand against neo-colonialism echoes in Congo's oil-soaked history. Laurent Desire Kabila, a grizzled rebel, toppled Mobutu in 1997, promising to revive Lumumba's dream of Congolese sovereignty. But his erratic rule and expulsion of Rwandan allies who had backed his rise alienated foreign powers, profiting from Congo's minerals. On January 16, 2001, in Kinshasa's presidential palace, a bodyguard shot Kabila dead. Theories point to Rwandan or Western involvement, as Kabila's shift toward independence threatened lucrative deals. His death prolonged the Second Congo War, leaving his son Joseph to inherit a fractured nation. Kabila's assassination, still unsolved, underscores the price of defying global power in resource-rich Congo. Muammar Gaddafi, Libya's enigmatic leader, transformed a desert nation into an oil powerhouse, funding schools and hospitals while dreaming of a United States of Africa. His push for a gold-backed African currency and his defiance of Western hegemony enraged global powers. In 2011, as NATO jets bombed Tripoli to support a rebel uprising, Gaddafi's convoy was stuck on October 20. Captured in a drainage pipe, he was beaten and shot by rebels. His death, live-streamed. NATO's role was undeniable, though internal dissent fueled the revolt. Libya collapsed into chaos, its oil-filled now battlegrounds. Gaddafi's vision of African unity, however flawed, remains a rallying cry for Pan-Africanists. Steve Biko, South Africa's voice of consciousness. In apartheid South Africa, Steve Biko, a medical student turned activist, founded the Black Consciousness movement, urging Black South Africans to embrace their worth and reject inferiority. His charisma and writings shook the regime, drawing global attention. On August 18, 1977, police arrested Biko at the roadblock. For weeks, he endured torture in Port Elizabeth cells. On September 12, he died. His skull fractured. Authorities claimed a hunger strike, but an inquest revealed brutal beatings. Western governments, complicit in their silence on apartheid, were accused of enabling the regime. Biko's death ignited global outrage, hastening apartheid's end. His cry, "Black is beautiful," still inspires.
Guarantees for minority rights, because guaranteeing minority rights implies the recognition of portions of the community on a race basis. We believe that in our country there shall be no minority, there shall be no majority, there shall just be people. And those people will have the same status before the law, and they will have the same political rights before the law. So in a sense, it will be a completely non-racial egalitarian society.
But will the vast number of blacks, after all their experiences, be able to live a life without giving vent to feelings of revenge, of
yes, we believe it is the duty of the vanguard political movement which brings about change to educate people's outlooks. I mean, in the same way that blacks have never lived in a socialist economic system, they've got to learn to live in one. In the same way that they've always lived in a racially divided society, they've got to learn to live in a non-racial society. They've got many things to learn, and all these must be brought to them and explained to the people by the vanguard movement, which is leading the revolution.